ever order filet mignon?
Okay.
Medium well. Has Mark Shapiro ever
Have
ordered
I
a
ever
filet?
ordered
Yes.
filet? Yes.
Yeah,
But I'm
sure.
not. Yes, but I'm not a big red meat guy.
Okay, there's
Yeah, but I have. When I've eaten it, it is medium well. Are we on air right now?
Yeah, we're on air.
This is my
we're
first.
live. So we were arguing.
I didn't prep for that question.
It wasn't on the list.
Do you still eat red meat?
I rarely eat. Not like I will never
Not
eat
rare,
red
but
meat.
rarely.
I rarely, and if I do, it will be medium well.
Oh, look at that.
All right.
I know that's
A
not cool to
revelation.
say, probably.
No, this interview's
But we
already
were
on
just
it.
ripping Sixero because he had a filet mignon last night and he bragged about having it medium well.
I told you I didn't brag. I said I had it medium well, and I got murked for like 10 minutes by the entire crew. Because
I know. I would too, but like
If you're afraid of red meat, that's how you eat it.
Okay. See?
That's all I'm saying.
He doesn't get us.
we don't connect.
All right, let's get to.
I'm talking to him.
Sid can do it.
Let's dive into the steak and potatoes of what you guys did today.
Yes.
As I try to transition unsuccessfully. Shun
We
Yamaguchi.
didn't do anything today.
What's that?
We didn't do anything today.
Oh, sorry.
so
It was reported.
Shun
Can we-
Yamaguchi is not official. Can you
Who?
get anything? Who?
If you were looking at Shun Yamaguchi,
You mean the report of what we did?
Correct. Yes, I'm sorry. The report. Yes.
reports indicate
Yes.
that might be something that would
I think
happen in the
Tanner
future.
Roark's still a report as well.
Is Tanner Roark still a report
Yeah.
right now? Okay.
But on the-
If you were looking at a certain Japanese pitcher that may end up in the major leagues by the name of Shun Yamaguchi, do you like his prospects in the major leagues?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. Good. That would probably be a good
Like,
There's
answer.
a lot of conditions there. No,
Do you like his prospects over like a 2-year period?
So you've got to go through certain formalities before a contract's official, and medical is a big part of those things. And but we, among the free agents that are out there, he's a guy that we felt has some versatility.
Right.
Has some upside out of the pen, but can also start. And I think as we look to kind of build a staff and. He's one potential guy that could complement our guys pretty well and still give us a lot of flexibility in how we go about the rest of the offseason. Because I know it doesn't feel like it, but there's still a good amount of offseason left.
Go ahead.
You mentioned that word flexibility, and people have thrown it back at you over the last little while.
I understand that.
And I know that the last time we talked to you, we talked about patience and having patience with a franchise and understanding where the long-term goals were set.
Yeah.
And then making sure that you didn't oversell before your patience, because your patience had run out.
It's a fine line.
Right.
It's a fine line.
So do you think, and this market has gone a little quicker than I think most people anticipated.
Quicker than the past couple years.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think that you would have been further along in this offseason than you are right now?
Did I think that going into the
into it,
offseason? No.
No?
No. I mean, obviously the offseason has moved a little quicker. We still potentially added, 2 starters and, maybe another versatile arm.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the reason why flexibility kind of gets mischaracterized because it's not a substitute for winning. And winning is what we need to do. Winning is what we have to do. And getting better is what we definitively will do. So the question that we talked about last time and that we still wrestle with all the time is we're grudgingly want to give up that future flexibility because there's going to be a window of opportunity, whether it's this July, whether it's next offseason or next July, where the step we take isn't just going from a lot of losses to over 500, but it's like, hey, we need to go from 85 wins to 92 wins, and that's a big jump to make. And when that happens, the more flexibility that we've got, or the more ability we've got to spend or add to our roster, or prospects that we trade at that point, I think we have to be pretty grudgingly. We have to grudgingly approach giving up that flexibility because at some point we are going to lunge. At some point. And the question's when we do that. So now it's not a question of whether we need to get better. We need to get better, and we need to win. But the question is, like, when we start to give up a lot of flexibility and give up big contracts, we need to make sure those players align, with Bo, with Kevin, with Vladdy, with Lourdes, with Danny Jansen. Like, we need to make sure they align with those guys.
When you say a big contract, how do you define a big contract? Because there are certain guys, and I know you can't talk about them now because they're obviously signed with other teams, but I see a guy like a Kyle Gibson, 3 years at 30.
Yeah.
Jake Odorizzi at 17.9. He keeps the qualifying offer.
That's a qualifying offer, yeah.
Is that like what when you talk about a bigger commitment? What exactly do you characterize as a bigger commitment? Because I think some of the fan base that's what's concerning them. Seeing some of these deals going where they're like, I think this would be
Kyle
right.
Gibson, we were on, and
So why do you think that happened?
because he wanted to go to Texas. It fit what he was looking for on a personal level. I think that's part of the equation that people miss. And I would say that there's been 2 or 3 guys that have signed, and this doesn't just happen to us. And it's not a Toronto, it's not a Canadian thing. It's, you know, when you get into free agency, a pitcher or a player earns the right to make a choice. And the variables that exist when he goes to make that choice could be spring training location. They could be, is it a rural or urban stadium where his family wants to live and come to? It could be, is it south or north? It could be east or west. It could be, and it often and almost always is, where are they in the cycle of competitiveness? So the biggest challenge we have right now is not Toronto versus Texas. It's, you know, whether someone believes how close we are to winning. And so we still are able to be an attractive landing spot even now, but I would think that, you know, 6-12 months from now will be an even more attractive landing spot. And I experienced that, you know, in 15 and 16. So it's just, to me, it's a little bit about timing, and it's a little bit about finding the right fit, because we want the guys that want to be here, not just because we're paying them.
Right.
And those guys are out there. You know, it's just everything's got to align.
So is part of that winning, and that's why you're saying in the future it might get a little easier to pull that?
Yeah.
So then how do you make the step if you, I mean, we talked about, you know, working in the bargain bin can be very tough, and Sid's bringing up numbers and where they would be and how you'd get guys in. So is this the hard part, to get from where you were last year to the point where?
I don't think it is. I think the hard part's to get like from those 85 wins to 92 wins. You know, I think we talked about it last time I was on. Like we competed last year. I think it almost is like you get so focused where you are, like you don't even think about it. I walk around winter meetings, and everybody I saw, Harold Reynolds, like, this is not on air, off to the side, like, man, you guys are good. Like, I'm loving watching it. Or like Brian Kenny, like, he's a pretty analytical guy. He's like, you guys are must-watch baseball. It's like, I'm like, I don't hear that very often. That's because I forget.
From the thinking fan, right?
I forget that sometimes, because you're so focused on just getting better, you know, like you're not focused on where we are. And there's so many good things in place right now. And I really think, Tim, we're going to take that next step, man. Like, we're going to take it. We've already added, we will continue to add. We're not done this winter. And we'll take that next step, from winning to contending.
Right.
Especially in the AL East. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. That is tough, and we're going to need to make some significant adds before that happens.
Did you table at any point over the last few weeks a $100 million offer to a player?
Did we do that? We have indicated to agents that we would go well over that this offseason.
Right. Pitching specifically? I'm not asking for names. I'm just saying. We're just talking. Hypothetically. All right. Hyunjin Ryu.
But I think that's important, because I think fans want to, like, if a Garrett Cole is out there, they want to know that you are in, and we're doing the due diligence. The fans have to kind of read between the lines and stuff like that.
I would say, on a guy like that, you know, we viewed to be an exceptional talent, that we are doing a lot more than due diligence.
Right.
You know, a lot more. You know, but again, like, you know, it's tough to offer. Like, he was going to all West Coast other than one team.
Right.
Like, it wasn't like it was only one.
And the team he grew up cheering for.
Right. Yeah.
And the team that drafted him in the Yankees. I mean, there's a lot of play there.
And a really, really good team, like a team we have to catch. You know, really good team.
Right.
So was there a thought in your office that you could maybe get Garrett? Because it was floated today by Shai, and I'm going to ask you flat out.
What did Shai say?
He was just saying there was a feeling of saving some money early for a big fish, and like a really big fish in Garrett. Did you guys think you had a shot at Garrett Cole?
I think we would have thought it was a long shot for everything that I mentioned to you. And we had, you know, we did our work, and, you know, we didn't think it was out of the question. We probably thought situations and circumstances had to fall back to us. Maybe strategically certain things, you know, had to occur, but it probably wasn't going to be like, you know, either us lunging at him or him lunging at us. It would have to be kind of circumstantial a little bit.
Hyunjin Ryu, he is not under contract. We can't talk about him openly. Led the National League in ERA a year ago. He is a lefty. He checks a lot of boxes for you. He's a little older, but he checks a lot of boxes for you. He still has to decide where he's going. You guys have been linked to him basically for the entire offseason. At what point have you been told he is going to make a decision, and at what point do you have to move on as a club if he's not going to be a Blue Jay and look at some other options?
Yeah, so I'll probably be a little bit vague the way I respond to that, only because I think it's a competitive disadvantage for us. You know, the more specific I am in reacting to an individual player, because there are multiple teams that are that are seeking information every day, like who else is in, what is their strategy. I think it's the job of a team when they have an interest in a player to maintain a pulse, a clear pulse, and a consistent level of contact with that agent. But you've also, in any successful negotiation, whether it's baseball or any business you're in, you know your alternatives. You have to set a walk away prior to going in. You know, like, what is your threshold? Sometimes you have to adjust that. Like this year, we've adjusted. The marketplace has been higher than we expected. So in all the players, not in his case, in all the players, we've adjusted our threshold on players and gone higher, you know, higher, a certain percentage higher than we thought we would go. But you're always cognizant of kind of the timing of things. You're also cognizant that it may get out of your, you know, what you believe is the right contract. And if that's the case, then so be it. You know, you go on to another alternative. And I know it is so challenging, but winning the offseason, you know, does not often lead to wins. You know, it leads to momentary satisfaction.
The Mets have won numerous World Series over the past couple of off seasons. I disagree. No, you're right.
So I think, you know, we want to make good decisions. We want to make decisions that align with our young talent. We want to make decisions that put us in the best position to win, but win multiple years. Right. You know, that's what we're trying to do.
Mark Shapiro is in studio here on Tim and Sid, and that's, we often look, or at least I do, I look at us as the translators between you and the fans and the fans to you guys, and I keep hearing from the fans that you guys have been too passive. And then I read a quote, and it said, and I'll read it back to you, and it's from you. I'm confident that before we take the field, we are going to have made significant additions to this ball club. I heard you say significant additions today. One, obviously that's accurate because you said it. And two, given all the free agents that have come off the board, has that changed the way you guys looked at this offseason?
I think you know, listen, you start to get into like kind of defining, well, what does significant mean? You know, so I think when I said that, I know when I said that, you know, I probably had maybe a greater confidence that significance might be in one player. And I still feel like when you look at the body of work and look at the wins we'll have added through free agency, you know, and the players we'll have added, you know, position players, pitchers, that combination of guys. And you look at the team that we started the offseason with, that the impact will have been significant, that we will have added double-digit, you know, wins to our team. I'd like to think there's still a chance that happens through one player, you know, that there'll be a big player that would be heralded as an offseason, you know, addition. I think there's still a very good possibility of that, but I probably feel a little less strongly of that because of what's transpired than I did when I said that quote. But I still feel strongly that when you look at the body of work, when this offseason's over, you know, on February 12th.
Which is not, I don't know if you said, it's not over yet.
It's not over yet. on February 12th, you know, we will have made significant, and we can sit down and talk about it, whether it's, you know, hopefully it's me in sunglasses talking to you guys.
Just give us some different shots. I think we had this conversation previously.
I'll do that,
Just lean up against the fence and look longingly into the outfield. Just different B-roll for us here at Sportsnet.
You'll have to send me your list of, you know, five best spring training poses.
We will say, hands on hips, turn to the left. That's a good president of operations.
Talk to a player. Arm on the shoulder.
And then laugh. Funny baseball joke.
Stand next to Ross.
And careful with the food, because that ends up on TV.
Never a good thing. I'll tell you, this is my ultimate food story. I was a young GM, first year, Yankee Stadium. You know, everyone, all the TV cameras know where you sit, right? Visiting GM. And I was going to go out to dinner after the game, so I didn't eat, you know, late night dinner. I was a young guy back then. And so I was like, I got to eat something. So I grabbed a soft pretzel. First rule, soft pretzel's fine. Mustard, not so good.
Oh, no, you did the mustard,
Did the mustard just as the camera pans to me. Mustard down the shirt. You know, TV guys, every guy I ever went to university with calling me going, oh, you look like you really enjoyed, because it was New York. So it's played across, it hit both feeds, Cleveland and yours. Anyway, so
you're hot dogging it.
Good pretzel?
So I've never again eaten in those seats.
But how was the pretzel?
Not good enough.
Oh, not good enough. Not good for the ridicule. We've talked a lot about pitching,
You don't want to talk about pretzels anymore.
No, I don't want to talk pretzels.
Okay.
Unless
another day.
Another day. Another day. You're in the market for a first baseman, maybe a DH, maybe an outfielder, maybe a couple of outfielders. Maybe. Aside from the pitching, what's your priority?
I think you kind of listed off the multiple ways we could impact the team. And again, this gets back to kind of one of the things that we talked about last time. One of the hardest things is we've got more bodies than we've got at-bats right now. And, you want to be careful to have exhausted the opportunity for guys. So there are people that fans may say, we've seen enough of this guy. And I've experienced that multiple times in my career. And then you give up on a guy and, he takes him 700, 800 plate appearances, and all of a sudden you see the player that he could be in the big leagues.
Is Charlie higher on Rowdy than you are?
I don't know if I think we're collectively as an organization pretty consistent, but guys like Teoscar Hernandez, who if you look at the last 2 months of his year, I know what fans are saying about him. I know what they say about his defense, but if you look at the last 2 months of his year after he came back from Buffalo, you're like, well, this guy, and you look at his tools. And you look at the work ethic, and you look at the teammate he is, and you're like, you don't want to give up on that guy. Or like a Derek Fisher, who's, purely analytical profile. He walks and he has big-time power, and he's left-handed, which complements our guys pretty well. You're like, I know some of the things that happened last year, but if you react emotionally to a small amount of information, you've got a chance to make a bad decision. So we're trying to weigh adding guys with the opportunities that we still want to provide a certain, it's easy to say we're going to commit to a spot for, for Bo and Kevin. Like, that's not hard. But we've got some other guys who are really intriguing and got some upside, some significant upside that we want to be careful on.
Well, last time you were here, we also talked about the difference between competing and contending. And you said about contending when we leave spring training with an objective reason to believe that we are capable of winning a playoff spot.
I would defend contending as that, yeah.
How close do you think you are to that, and how close do you want to be to that?
Well, I want to be there. I don't want to be close. I want to be there. Like, that's not what I want, and what the reality is are two different things, right? I wish I could, you can't. No matter how good statistics are, no matter how good analytics get in our game, the beauty of baseball is it's played by human beings. And you can't, accurately forecast this is how fast everything will come together. The good side of that, it could happen a lot faster than we all think. The tough side is it may take a little longer. But until we get back out on the field, I know this. Uniformly, when I talked to the teams we played against the second half of last year, when we started playing all kids, people were like, you guys are going to be really good, and we don't like playing you. Like, you're tough, you play hard. The things that Charlie has instilled, they're to get these guys never stop, and they believe. That's probably the single greatest thing. They believe they're going to win. They believe in each other. So that, more than anything, I know is powerful, and I know that combined with a lot of talent, which we have, how quickly everything else comes together. I hope it's faster than any of us think. I think that's possible, but I'm just not sure. I don't know. I wish I could tell you.
What was the most common question that you and Ross got from a free agent during the meeting about the city of Toronto and your organization?
That's interesting. I think the most common question was not about the city of Toronto. It was just about, how close are you guys to winning? Like, tell me, like, I know.
Like I just asked.
Everybody knows our players, man. Like, everybody. Like, I know
no
these
secrets
guys
anymore, is there?
No, I know, and everybody knows they're good.
People are excited, yeah.
They're like other players. Like, they know within the industry, they know, and they're like, you guys are close, but how close are you? And they're you guys. Like, what else are you going to do? What are you going to do around me? Are you going to make a significant, sign? So, so I think those are the kinds of questions we get. It's not really about. I think the success here is recent enough that it's not a question of like. And every player that's played here is, enough of a sponsor that we don't need to go out and say, oh, you need to come here. Like, it's different than you think. It will resonate more with some guys than other guys. There are certain people that want to live in a suburban, track home close to an airport. It's not going to resonate with everybody. But that's the same with every team, no matter where you are.
I know that you're hearing it from the American guys, but if you're watching this show, I went a ton in the second half of last year, sitting down the left field line, and I said it a bunch of times. I was really enjoying watching the young players get their opportunity to play last year and was excited by it. And I think that's where your fans are right now, where they know, like when you hit rebuild, okay?
Yeah.
Whenever it is, and you already have 3 pieces that you can look at and say, these are legit, maybe 4 pieces, maybe 5 pieces, where you go, these are legit. People get excited. And I think that's why the pressure of this offseason has kind of, like, I think those guys forced the pressure on the fans to say, hey, we might be good sooner rather than later, given where you guys had whatever you want to define the rebuild. Like, I think it's victim of your own success.
All that. I agree with all that. And I think it was palpable to kind of feel the energy that those guys brought. And even if you weren't there, if you were watching on TV, and you could see the reactions to each other in the dugout, you could just see, like, these guys, like, they're having fun.
Yeah.
They're enjoying where they are, and they're enjoying playing with each other, and they believe they're pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Like, Ross and I sat with Bo in Ross's office just 2 weeks ago. I mean, first of all, it's like hard to believe he's 20 years old, you know. And second of all, the things he's saying about this is where we are. This is Vladdy. This is Teoscar. This is Kevin. Like, you know, like they care about each other. They believe in the talent they've got. So I agree with you, but you still can't force it. You know, it's got to be the right guy, and it's got to be a guy that lines up with them. Not just that. Yes, there could be some guys that we do that kind of just get us to the next step.
Right.
But ideally, if we are doing that big sign, it's a guy that's also here with them for that next step.
Before we let you go, you know, you don't need me to tell you, you got some impatient fans out there.
Every fan's impatient.
True, true.
By the way, we're impatient.
Yeah.
We want to win.
Good point.
We're just trying to get there the right way, but we want to win.
I'll let you close it the way you want here. If you could speak to them directly, what would you say?
Be excited. Be excited. You've got an incredible core of young talent. The obvious guys, Bo, Vladdy, Kevin, but you've got 2 catchers that everybody in the industry is asking about that are left-right complements. You've got guys that care, that want to play for Toronto, that want to play for Canada. You've got athletic guys with upside, and we are going to keep working to make sure we put other players around them, and we're going to be better, and we're going to win.
You're always good with your time with us, and we do appreciate it.
I
so thanks
appreciate
for
it.
popping
Happy
by.
holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays to you too.